If you lived in Stranger Things, what would your role be?
Oh, I'm definitely not 11. I would have no powers. I am running away.
I mean, like, why has nobody left Hawkins yet? I would have been out season 1.
Yeah.
Same. I mean, the minute a wall breathes, I'm out.
Did somebody say government experiment?
Who are you guys?
We're 2 of the 3 Not So Wisemen. Y'all are talking about Stranger Things like it's fiction. But we're not now.
Oh, you mean like MK Ultra?
Okay, wait.
You know about that?
You guys know about that?
Yeah, the CIA program from the 1950s where they tested things without people knowing.
Wow, we weren't expecting that.
Don't play with us. We did our homework.
Alright, so this just became a real conversation.
Welcome to our podcast now.
Actually, you invaded our podcast.
Yeah, but we got the bigger table.
We'll call it a collaboration. All right, well, hey, how are you guys doing out there? As you can see, we got a full desk here tonight. Last episode, we talked about Operation Paperclip, a secret program ran by the U.S. government that recruited Nazi scientists to work on advanced technologies. We learned that many of those recruits belonged to a group within the Nazis that worship demons. That's right, they worship actual demons. And they practice occult rituals. But wait, there's more. Our government also had other programs that they wanted to use some of these Nazi scientists for. Now, not all of the recruits specialized in advanced technology. Some of them were experts in chemical warfare, and others were experts in mind control. No. If you can imagine that. And that's where other secret programs come into play. I mean, you got a bunch of Satan-worshiping Nazis lying around. It'd be a shame to, just let them go. Yeah, just let them go to waste. Man. And that's where MK Ultra and Project Stargate come into existence. So we're going to touch a little bit on Stargate tonight, but the main focus of this episode is going to be mostly about MK Ultra.
And a little bit about Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Together.
That's why we're here.
Yes.
That's right. So, Pastor Josh, you got anything to say? Wait a minute. You're not Josh. Get out of here.
Sorry, Pastor Josh.
There you go.
Aggressive.
Fix your face.
Yeah, fix your face.
Fix your face.
So, for everybody that don't know, this is the 3 Not So Wise Men. There's 2 of us tonight.
Two of us
and Pastor Josh is here in the bunny form.
That's right.
And then, can y'all tell us who y'all are?
We're the Holy Queso Girls, and
Holy
we do
queso.
podcasts.
Holy
Yep, I'm
queso.
Chloe.
I'm Kenzie.
I'm Kenza.
Well, that's crazy.
3
Literally.
Or Mac. I can be Mac.
Yeah, be Mac. I like
can be
that
Mac.
better. I like it.
Okay.
I like that better.
Yeah, it's a little better than Kane.
Yeah. Let's not go to that direction. So I see that they don't have their queso cheese tonight, so that's kind of great.
We have
We
Egos.
have to bring our egos.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well.
We gotta stick with the theme.
Yep, I got you. So,
Yeah.
well, it's good to have y'all on tonight. It's good to have y'all on. So,
I guess what we're doing tonight is like doing a mashup, right? Of you guys' theme, which has been the popcorn
yeah,
Parables.
Parables.
which is pretty awesome, by the way. You guys
If you
should
haven't
check
watched
those
them,
out.
go watch them.
And then our stuff, like going down the rabbit hole and checking out all the crazy conspiracies, and they intersected somewhere. That's pretty cool.
And the coolest thing is, we didn't plan any of this. This just kind of happened. And then we were like, hey, since y'all are doing that and we're doing this, they mix. Let's do it. So, pretty cool how we got here.
It is. Well, I guess we'll just kind of dive right in, and as usual, we will be giving commentary as we watch these crazy clips and talk some stuff about them.
All right. In the 1950s and 1960s, in the height of the Cold War, the United States government feared that Soviet, Chinese, and North Korean agents were using mind control to brainwash U.S. prisoners of war in Korea. In response, Alan Dulles,
That sounds great. Yes.
director of the Central Intelligence Agency, or better known as the CIA, approached Project MK Ultra in 1953.
That guy looks like he shoves ants.
He's so sad.
He looks like he don't clean his dishes when he puts them in the sink. You know what I'm saying?
If you haven't watched Stranger Things, that's a clip from Stranger Things. And the girl is 11, and the guy's name is Dr. Brenner.
He looks a little light in the loafers, if you catch my drift.
Yeah.
I don't.
His elevator don't go to the top floor.
He's dumb.
Yeah.
MK Ultra was the covert operation aimed to develop techniques that could be used against Soviet to control human behavior with drugs and other psychological manipulators. The chemist Sidney Gottlieb
Yes, that is exactly
was
it.
the CIA's master magician, the agency's poisoner-in-chief. As head of the MK Ultra mind control project, he directed brutal experiments at secret prisons on 3 continents. He made pills, powders, and potions that could kill or maim without a trace. Y'all gave me hard work. Including some intended for Fidel Castro
That's
Yes.
it.
and
Yeah.
other foreign leaders. He paid prostitutes to lure clients to CIA-run bordellos,
Yep.
where they were secretly dosed with mind-altering drugs. This part is not a conspiracy. It's completely true, and you can read about it at CIA.gov.
That's crazy. But I think we need to go back to how it even started. Because it started as kind of the U.S. was scared because there's all these Germans that claim to have a ability to control the mind. And at that point, that was the most technologically advanced thing you could ever imagine. And there's these Japanese soldiers that come out of these prisons and they say what exactly they are trained to say. They don't have a personality. They're literally trained assassins. So the U.S. is like, oh, well, we want to do that. So what happens if we destroy the mind, control the mind, and then figure out how to use that for our benefit? But not only that, they took Nazis who literally conducted experiments on children, the one who are supposed to be prosecuted. They used them to recruit them to conduct experiments not only on children, but those literally, quote, who could not defend themselves properly.
And what's funny, like, just hearing some of this stuff, like, not diving in yet, but just hearing some of this, my mind automatically goes to a Marvel movie right now. It goes to the Winter Soldier. Because the Winter Soldier was one of those guys that was programmed by the Russians or by the Soviet Union at the time. And, like, there's certain key phrases and key words. He's a sleeper cell in certain spots, but he's the ultimate weapon. He is the ultimate bad guy, the ultimate assassin. And it was crazy because he was mind controlled the entire time. And anyway, it's funny.
You know what? To make another connection with Marvel, because we've seen so many with all this stuff. If you think about Black Widow, she was a trained spy and like assassin. And if you go look at Stargate, Project Stargate, Operation Stargate, you see that they were kind of getting into that kind of stuff also. They were trying to learn how to really produce the best spy. That was their whole purpose. And I think we'll probably get into a little bit of it later on, but basically what they found was the best technique to create a spy was to break someone's psyche in their mind so that you could divide their personalities, and you could have one personality that was normal, that was face fronting, that everybody, hey buddy,
Had
how you
morals,
doing?
everything.
Hey, give me some Dunkin' Donuts. And then you had the other personality that was a trained killer. And neither one of the two personalities knew about each other.
Nope, they
just
never
like Winter
intersected.
Soldier.
Never intersected, nothing.
Nothing.
And it was almost like when he woke up in that, it was like, I don't know what I've been doing. I don't know
Right,
what's
it's a
happening.
blank.
I don't know what's going on. So, and it's funny because I ain't going to try to dive into this too deep.
Split or whatever
Oh my
it's
gosh,
called.
I hate you.
Like, that's the main
That's
one
literally
that
what I was about to
think
say.
of. That one's like 50 different
Yeah,
personalities.
he had 50 different personalities.
I think
I've
it's,
heard
I
that
think it was
movie.
like 20 or like 14 or something. He had
Yeah.
a lot.
Which one?
No,
The
the guys, the movie's called Split. It's off of Glass and Unbreakable and all that mess.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But
I know the
what's funny about that is too, one of his
The
personalities
monster.
was the monster, which
Yeah.
had he had supernatural powers and all this
Yeah.
other stuff. So kind of weird that we're talking about some of this. Go ahead, Mackenzie. I know you got something on you.
Y'all are gonna laugh at me, but what comes to mind is Big Hero 6 when they switch Baymax's chip, and he goes from the big.
We jumped out.
He goes from the big soft guy to
Killer mode.
Killer mode.
Yeah.
And he goes and he's trying to hurt people because they switched his chip. That was the only thing that was running through my mind.
That's a good observation there.
Yeah.
Well, so we have Sidney Gottlieb, of course, running this massive multi-million-dollar program. But here's the thing: Gottlieb wasn't just observing the effects of LSD; he was a true believer. He and his top deputies started tripping as part of their everyday office routine. They called it testing the product. Okay, Gottlieb reportedly dropped acid more than 200 times. Right. Dear Lord, think about that. What that does to you. There are accounts of CIA Christmas parties where the punch was spiked with LSD. In 1953, Gottlieb invited a group of CIA and Army scientists to a retreat at Deep Creek Lake. During the dinner, he spiked their contract.
I think it's a sort of wine. I'm
Yeah,
not really sure.
Yeah, I think it is wine. He spiked their wine with LSD. He didn't tell them about it. My God, that sounds familiar. Sounds like old Bill Gates. Anyway,
Bill Gates.
Let me jump out of that for a second because we're about to get no CIA vans on.
Don't send any black vans. Just letting
You
you
gonna
know.
show up at your house?
Yeah, looking at your cameras right now. Oh my gosh.
CIA?
But he didn't tell nobody about it. He just did it. A biological warfare scientist named Frank Olson had a severe negative reaction to it. He fell into a deep depression and days later plummeted to his death from a hotel window in New York. The CIA covered it up as a suicide for decades.
Oh, that's like the One Direction boy.
Ooh.
You know, before you
Go ahead,
go on, the LSD connection, we need to touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, we do.
The guy who invented LSD is a dude named Timothy Leary. He was a mad scientist himself. He was a genius, and he figured out how you could take, I'm not going to tell you the recipe, but
Yeah.
you can take certain compounds and create LSD.
Wow.
And, you know, they experimented with that. Well, the really weird thing about Timothy Leary is he was also a disciple of the guy we talked about in the last episode, Aleister Crowley.
And if you don't remember, that guy was a weirdo.
He was a weirdo. So Timothy Leary was this renowned scientist. The government had contracts with him. And obviously, this guy, Sidney Gottlieb, kind of interacted with him because where do you think all the LSD came from? But I really wanted us to check that out. So check out this clip from his own mouth.
Well, I've been an admirer of Aleister Crowley. I think that I'm carrying on much of the work that he started over 100 years ago, and I think the 60s themselves. You know, Crowley said, "Do what thou wilt, shall be the whole of the law."
So he admits right there, he didn't say, "I'm just an admirer." He said, "I'm carrying on what Aleister Crowley started 100 years ago." Well, what Aleister Crowley started 100 years ago was this religion called Thelema, which is all about demonic worship and ritual abuse of innocence. Just a lot of messed up. So this guy, who again, is crazy to me how many people that are twisted and perverted have these positions of authority in our government.
And if you didn't watch our last podcast with 3 Not So Wisemen, please go back and watch it. Because one of the things that sticks out to me so much, and I'm trying to be careful and walk on eggshells here, quote unquote.
No CIA fans.
That black egg represents more than what people think it does. I'm just going to leave it at that. So anyway, let me move on before we really do have the helicopter swarm in and all that good stuff. So, but to understand how deep the lack of professional work went, you have to look at the personal notes of a guy named George White. He was a high-ranking Federal Bureau of Narcotics agent who ran the safe houses for Gottlieb.
Safe houses.
After he retired, he wrote a letter to Gottlieb that sounds less than a government report and more like a confession from a supervillain. He wrote, "I was a very minor missionary, actually a heretic. Oh, everybody's done gave up on us today.
Prison Mike said no.
Prison Mike's like, not this guy.
Prison Mike is scared of the
He
CIA.
got nervous.
He said, I'm not.
I am not part of this.
But George wrote this note to Gottlieb, pretty much saying I was a very minor missionary, actually more of a heretic, but I told wholeheartedly in the vineyards because it was fun. Where else could a red-blood American boy lie, kill, cheat, steal, deceive, and pillage with the sanctions and the blessings of the highest authorities?
That's crazy.
Statement right there.
That is a
That's
statement.
crazy.
Like, woo.
Like, creepy is not even the word for this. Like, it's
That
so
makes your
beyond.
skin crawl.
Yes, definitely. Anyway.
But like going into MK Ultra, you also got to talk about what they did to people because that stuff is nasty.
It is.
But also, MK Ultra was a humongous operation. It was the biggest research or experiment on people on the planet.
Yeah, and I do want to make sure this is clear. It wasn't just one thing.
No.
It was like 150 things. It was a lot of projects inside of a project inside of a project. It just
Under
kept
the
going.
umbrella.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, Ultra.
Yeah.
There
Yes.
was 149 sub-projects. 80 plus institutions were part of this, and 185 plus researchers / assistants. If you have 185 researchers, then you have a ton of people cycling in constantly.
It's a lot of knowledge.
But I want to go back to the LSD real quick because it's a kind of a cool fact. But the MK Ultra operation used so much money that they spent $4 million of today's money, which would be about 250 grand back in the day, to buy one of the biggest sources of LSD in the world in a place called Sandoz in Switzerland. So they were using up LSD constantly. And I want to talk about that.
And the world knew it too.
So LSD was used to, if you know about LSD, it sends you in like a hallucination state. But if you keep on gradually giving people LSD, it breaks down their psyche and their personality, and they don't remember anything about themselves. Yeah. So that's one of the goals of MK Ultra. So how does a person behave when their perception of reality is altered? That's the question they were asking. In Stranger Things, when Eleven is placed in controlled environments and monitoring while using her mind, the visual observation is more accurate. Like in the video that we saw where she was having this thing on her head with a cat trying to essentially
She killed it.
squish the cat, which is terrible. So I just want you to imagine something with me as a patient. Imagine that you're sitting in a clinical room speaking to a doctor who appears completely normal and trustworthy. You're told that you're participating in a study or receiving treatment and nothing about the situation feels threatening. Let's say you go to college, back in the day, people got jobs and stuff. They pay you $30 to, participate in something. You're like, okay. So at some point you're given a substance. It could be a drink, a pill, or an injection, but you're not told exactly what it is or what it's supposed to do. At first nothing feels different, then gradually your perception begins to shift. The room might feel like it's subtly moving. Your sense of time begins to distort, stretching or compressing in ways that don't make sense. Your thoughts become harder to organize, and you may begin to feel detached from your own body or voice. While this is happening, the people around you are not intervening or helping. Instead, they're observing closely. So I want to talk about one case because it's crazy. But there was a guy, we don't really know who he is. He's kind of a Jane Doe or John Doe. But the case says that he used to be like a tennis player, which is kind of cool. But he came in for just depression. Like people would go into mental institutions like, yeah, I'm dealing with a little bit of depression. And he got injected with experimental compounds, including LSD, for weeks nonstop. There's a documented case that says 175 days straight.
Wow.
And he ended up dying, and his death was covered up for 20 years before they found out that he was a part of the case. So imagine being literally hallucinating for 175 days straight. That messes you up. And there's cases where they would pump people with chemicals on one arm and chemicals that combat the other chemical on the other arm to see what your body would do inside.
It makes me think of the families too. 'Cause,
Exactly.
they're probably looking for this guy for over 20 years, trying to figure out where he's at, what happened to him, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And then,
That's what happened with the other guy we were talking about that fell out the window.
Yeah.
The only reason that people found out the truth is because his family would not believe that he just committed suicide.
right.
Right. And all these people who just go in for like normal things at a mental institution, or, you know, people that are more prone to people forget about them, like prostitutes and things like that, they just get snatched out of nowhere and they're like, huh? And these people from mental institutions come in for nothing and come out literally not being able to function.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what the heck is happening? So we're going to go into the second part of experimentation that they tried, which is very much displayed in Stranger Things. It's sensory deprivation. So if you watch Stranger Things, there's like the tub where Eleven's in. She has something covering her face and there's a ton of salt. She's levitating. So that's supposed to, like...
Funny soul. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
That is literally supposed to deprive you of your senses so you can focus on something. In Stranger Things, it was her focusing on whatever power she was using, usually trying to find somebody. But they would literally do that for people. And that would make you lose track of your time, experience hallucinations, and feeling detached from their identity. When this state is combined with sleep deprivation or chemical exposure, the effect becomes even more intense, because these experiments were like, people would do all types of experiments. And at that point, the person becomes more suggestible, more vulnerable, and less grounded in reality. So that question that they're trying to answer is, if we remove everything that stabilizes a person, what are they left with? And then the last type that I want to talk about is the deep patterning, which is, I think, is one of the worst ones. So the guy who led this is called Donald Ewan Cameron. And he conducted experiments that focus on breaking down and rebuilding the human personality. So patients came in seeking for help, and instead they were put into a multi-step process. So they would go and get repeated electroshock treatments, often at levels and frequencies that went far beyond typical. It would kill like a small animal. And usually they would be unconscious while doing that. So they had no consent to this. Then they were sedated for extreme periods of time, up to 85 days of sedation. Then they would sit in a room. Are you annoyed by listening to something over and over again?
Yeah.
Like, 5 times I heard the same thing and I'm over it. These people would listen to thousands upon millions of times of the same exact thing. They were trapped in a room for days. No sleep. Days on end. So what they would do is they would put, after all these things, they would put somebody in a room, and already they're messed up. They don't really know who they are. They would put negative things about them. Like, you're terrible. You're nothing. You're worthless. Over and over again for 5 days. Then they would put the person in a different room where they're hearing positive things about themselves, but in the way that they want the person to be shaped. So they come out as this completely different person.
Moment of transparency. You know, if you guys have watched our podcast from way back when, you know, some of our testimony and stuff. I've experienced a lot of stuff that Sister Kinsley just talked about. Willingly, you know, I wasn't held in some government lab. I experienced it willingly. Having said that, I can testify that those substances and the things that they do, those hallucinogens, what they actually do on a spiritual level is they like open a door up and they turn a light on. And so if you can imagine like opening your house door up at night and turning your light on and just leaving the door open at night, what's going to happen?
People go in.
You're going to get
Something gonna
bugs
come in.
You're going to get all kind of crazy stuff that comes in your house at night. Yeah, there's stuff coming in if you leave the light on and the door open in the darkness. That's what's going to happen. So those things, while the scientists, probably a lot of the scientists that were involved had no spiritual connection to anything. They were just doing it for the science. We obviously know there were some dudes in charge that had spiritual connection, but it was to the darkness.
Yep.
And they I think that's what the whole point of it was to invite, let's see if we can invite some demonic forces into these people, into these children, into whatever. And the other thing is this, in the Bible where it talks about sorcery, especially in the New Testament, the word that is translated sorcery, if you go look at it, is a Greek word pharmakia, which is where we get the word pharmaceuticals from. And there's something to that. Like whenever whenever you think of sorcery, we think of like
Witchcraft,
or
wizards.
Lord of the Rings, or whatever. But the biblical perspective of sorcery is that it's using these substances that have some kind of connection to the darkness, and using those to manipulate people. And that's why it has a connection to the darkness. So I just want to enlighten you guys on that if you didn't know.
When we go into this, though, there's so much more to MK Ultra and the experiments that they did and all the things that they did. How demonic this stuff is, and what they were actually opening up, because there's so many different, avenues that they were opening. Messing with somebody's mind automatically, because the one thing, what's the Bible tell us about the mind? Transform your mind by the renewing of. Right. So it's when they get into your mind, they can change things. They can change your perspective. They can change how you do things, your morals, all that stuff. So that by itself is enough to me. But the fact that they kept digging and going further in, trying to, honestly, I think, contact some of these spiritual realms and reach inside. And mainly, honest to God, and I know this is funny because in Stranger Things, they open up a portal to the upside down and all this other stuff. I really think that it's literally what they were trying to do. They were trying to get into this realm and do more research, or even pull stuff out of that realm.
Release the things that are stuck in that realm.
So the shutdown of MK Ultra in the early 1970s wasn't exactly a clean exit. It was more of a panicked scramble to burn the evidence before the public found out what the CIA had been doing for 20 years.
Come on now.
3 main factors that brought the program to a halt. Number 1, the retirement of the poisoner-in-chief. By 1972, the political climate in Washington was changing. Richard Helms, the CIA director who had been the program's biggest protector, was preparing to leave his post. Sidney Gottlieb, the man running MK Ultra, also decided to retire. Without these 2 key architects at the helm, the program lost its internal shield.
One thing with that, another name he had, his other nickname was the Black Sorcerer.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a connection right there.
Yeah.
I just want to point that out.
No, you're right, yeah.
Who wants to name themselves this
The
stuff?
Black Sorcerer.
Yeah.
The poisoner
Oh, that sounds
in chief.
super wholesome. Yeah.
Hey, Mom,
I want my kids to go to this study place.
Yeah.
Shot right there.
Yeah.
I'll take. Oh my God.
So the second one was the Great Shredding of 1973. So before leaving, Richard Helms issued a direct order: destroy all records related to MK Ultra.
Now, why would we do that?
Why?
Helms and Gottlieb knew that the climate of suspicion following the Watergate scandal meant that investigators would eventually come knocking. They managed to destroy roughly 150 boxes of files, thousands of pages of evidence documenting human rights abuses, illegal drug testing, and torture.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, really familiar.
Yeah, right now.
And it's funny that I better stop because there's so many rabbit holes here.
So number 3, the family jewels and the church committee.
Oh dear Lord.
Despite the shredding, the truth began to leak. In 1974, the New York Times published an expose by Seymour Hersh detailing how the CIA had been spying on U.S. citizens and conducting illegal experiments. This led to the formation of the Church Committee, chaired by Senator Frank Church, in 1975. During the investigation, a small cache of financial records that had escaped the 1973 shedding was discovered. These follow the money documents prove that MK Ultra existed, how much it cost, and which universities and hospitals were involved.
Ooh.
Course.
So R.I.P. MK Ultra.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, R.I.P. MK Ultra. You know what I'm saying? But there's a lot of things.
I just thought of something really funny.
You okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you catch a unique rabbit?
Oh my gosh, guys, we are out of time. We'll see you next episode. Okay.